Hello everyone, I'm bringing you a video today looking at some Dutch Army issue canteens from the Cold War era. This follows something of a theme on the channel recently. Obviously the previous video uploaded was looking at East German canteens, and over the last couple of months I've uploaded some other videos looking at canteens, notably Argentine Army issue canteens. So in this video, as I say, we're going to have a look at some Dutch Army issue canteens and the cups and covers that go with them. And that's what we're going to have a look at in some detail now. Here we have the first selection of canteens we're going to talk about. These are all basically made to what I understand to be the Dutch M50 design, introduced in the 1950s. We have on the left here, again, what I understand to be the earliest issue example, the earliest version of this canteen with a brown hard plastic or bakelite cap here. Then we have two examples here which have a softer, hard rubber, I think it is, or a very soft plastic green cap. Now, I can't get the cap off this. I've tried warm water and everything. It's seized on solid for some reason, and I don't quite know why. I can't get that moving. I don't want to break it, obviously, so we can't unfortunately have a look at the date of this because the dates are found on the necks of the bottles and the cap will actually cover it up. But we can have a look at the overall design of this. It's basically per the US M1910 canteen, as you can see, and obviously it nests in the cup in exactly the same manner. We have a loose aluminium ring around the neck there with a chain. You can see that there, which secures the cap. Now this is the closest in these designs in terms of the original M1910 cap. Obviously it's quite a bit taller. It's made of a brown bakelite type material, but it has the chain attached with a small pin on the top there, as you can see. So my understanding is this is the earliest version of these with this bakelite type cap. You would need a cork or rubber inside here to seal it because obviously it's a hard material. The cup itself is stainless steel as opposed to aluminium. The canteen is aluminium, the cup is stainless steel. It's butterfly handles, as you can see there, and it's basically a direct copy of what you'd actually see later with US canteen cups in having the butterfly handle rather than the L-shaped handle that comes off the top of the cup. So as you can see here, RS 58 there, this is the date, 1958 for this particular cup. And as I remember, these are all the sets, how they came to me. So I've not messed around swapping cups between canteens and things. As I remember, this is how they all arrived. We'll have a look at the cover in just a moment, but this next canteen here shows the development of this. So you have a shorter cap, and this is made of a soft material, and this one is easy to remove. You can see here, you can see it's slightly squashy, and you can see in there, there's no need for a ring to seal this. There's no need for rubber or cork in there. You just have that raised rim on the inside that fits just inside the neck, and when this is screwed down it will produce a seal, a watertight seal. Well, that's the idea anyway. You have again the loose ring around the neck with the chain, and that now just fits around this plastic stud on top of the cap there. So the cap, a lot simpler to manufacture. You just mold this and then obviously have the metal hook fits around that plastic stud on the top and then attaches to the chain. Just remove this from the cup. So those were quite well nested together, but I've got them apart here, as you can see. So M1910 style canteen again, as you can see there. Slightly different design of neck, obviously with a different design of cap. But we can see on the neck here, around this side, we have the date there of 55-56, so the manufacturing date of 55-56, just round on the neck there. So 1950s manufacture for these. And they were used right the way through into the 1970s and probably beyond that as well, I'd imagine, in reserve service after the introduction of the plastic canteen, which we're going to have a look at in a minute. The carrier is a direct copy of the US late production M1910 canteen carriers, including the felt lining in the interior of this, as you can see, right down to the stitching down the front. Completely analogous, the strengthening piece on the back here. So a direct copy of late production M1910 carrier. The Dutch had used US surplus alongside British surplus and therefore copied this design directly, and obviously the canteen is only a slight departure in terms of design. So these are often used by reenactors as a stand-in for US made covers. The one sort of visual difference really is the lack of the US stamp, two visual differences, lack of the US stamp and the different sort of herringbone binding material used around the edge here. So otherwise the colour is the same, well, certainly within the variation of colours you'd see in US made carriers. Obviously the same style of lift the dots fasteners are used, and the overall shape and the manufacturing, everything is very, very similar. So that's the cover there. And we have a final canteen in this little set to have a look at here, just a slightly later manufactured version of the canteen, and you can see here the date of 60 on the neck there, and on the cup here we have 60 again, WBG, I believe being in the manufacturer. Again, if anyone could provide more information on the exact introduction date of these and when the changeover to the plastic canteen occurred, I'd be very interested to know. As I say, I would imagine these remained in service for some time, because obviously the Dutch reserves used a lot of older kit for quite a bit of time, and I can imagine these staying in service after the introduction of the plastic canteen for some time. So we'll nest these all back together again, pop that back inside the cover here, and as I say, as far as I'm aware, this is the initial production. You then move to this with the slightly changed cap, and these were produced and used certainly into the 1970s. So as I say, the design closely copied from the M1910, but slightly modified certainly in terms of the cap used with these. So the next canteen to have a look at here is the Dutch plastic canteen, and my understanding is these were initially introduced in the 1970s. Again, if anyone could provide an exact introduction date, I'd be interested to know. There may well be resources online dealing with this, but possibly in Dutch, so not easy for me to search and read, but if anyone can advise on that, I would be interested to know. Again, following basically on from, well, the US and as mentioned in previous videos, Canadian practice, the Canadians were the first to introduce a plastic canteen of this sort, and again, tightly nested together. A little bit of discoloration on there, as you can see. But this particular example is dated 1987. You see a lot of these with 90s dates. I'm going to really struggle to pronounce this, but niet verwarmen, so do not heat, basically. Even with a limited understanding of Dutch, you can translate that fairly easily. You can see the seam there from the moulding of this. It's a slightly different shape to US and Canadian canteens. 1 litre, I believe, the capacity of this, but the neck is a similar shape there, as you can see, and you have that ring in the cap there to seal this. So we move over to a plastic canteen, which again is designed to nest with the existing design of stainless steel cup. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the cup, but this particular example is manufactured in 81, so a later manufactured version of the cup. As you can see, the bracket, as we had before, spot welded in place. This one is rather mucky inside, so needs a bit of a clean, but it's how it came to me, so I need to have a go at that at some point. A little bit of discoloration on the bottom there. I would suggest this one has probably been used over a fire to heat stuff up, which is obviously the idea behind having the metal canteen cup. So we have the canteen and cup there. The cover, again, I believe this particular design was introduced in the 1970s. Again, if anyone can help with specific dates, I'd be interested to know. But it is a rubberized version of the M1910 canteen cover we saw previously. So the material this is primarily made from is a rubberized canvas. You can see that there. We still have cotton or possibly a man-made material webbing for the attachment of the hanger hooks on the back, and as with the M1910 canteen cover this is based on, this hangs off the belt using eyelets along the bottom of the belt, which is why when the Dutch adapted the 1937 pattern belt, they added eyelets along the bottom, is so they could use US type canteen covers with them, and obviously this is a development of that. You can see the NATO stock number quite clearly stamped along the bottom there, which is nice. That's not been worn away. And obviously this still uses the lifter dot fasteners. It's still lined with felt, as you can see. It's a direct copy of the M1910 canteen carrier, but just made in this rubberized or vinyl material, as you can see. There is a simplified version of this, which we're going to have a look at next, but the canteen, basically this would be used through into the 1990s, and this was obviously the mid-Cold War or later Cold War development of what we've already looked at, the aluminium canteens, obviously with the plastic canteen substituted, but keeping the stainless steel cup there, as you can see. Now this cover contains the same canteen and cup set which we've already looked at, so nothing else to talk about there with the canteen and cup. This is exactly the one I've showed you before, just placed into the cover to illustrate it with a canteen and cup inside. This doesn't have the lining, so it's a little bit more difficult to remove the cup in there. There's a bit of friction from the rubberized material. This is made of the same rubberized cloth which we looked at the previous cover, but this has been greatly simplified. You can actually see the edge there. It shows you the cloth reinforcing inside there. It's obviously fraying away a little bit at the edge there. The bottom is just glued together, as you can see. Very much simplified. You just have a loop on the back here glued in place to hold the hanger hooks there. So it's suspended from the belt in the same way. I believe these were introduced in the 1980s. Again, any information on more exact dates would be much appreciated. Functions in the same way. The canteen slots in, you have these two flaps that go over the shoulder of the canteen to hold it in place. You now have snaps or press studs in place of the lift the dot. A little bit simpler fixing to use, a little bit simpler to manufacture these, so probably a little bit cheaper. And the interior there is completely unlined, as you can see. So a great simplification on the previous design, which, as I say, was a direct copy of the preceding Dutch design, itself a copy of the M1910 cover, but in rubberized material. This takes away a lot of the features of that, the lining, the extra stitching down the front, obviously the extra bit of webbing at the back to attach the hanger hooks, and the more complex manufacturing of the base, and simplifies it down to a very basic carrier made of this rubberized material. So that's the last cover to have a look at. As I say, this is the same canteen and cup we've already had a look at. So there it is. That's a quick run through these Cold War Dutch issue canteens and covers. So I do hope you found it interesting looking at these. I do plan to make more videos looking at Dutch kit going forward. There's battle dress uniform to talk about, the combat uniform and other elements of the web equipment as well. So if you'd like to see those videos, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, the notification button down below. That will of course alert you when I upload future videos. That's everything for this video, so until next time, bye for now.